Hi there, Brainwash Zealots. This is Joshua the Heretic coming at you today. Want to talk to you about an issue. This is a friend of mine recently had a revelation that if she asks God what to do in every aspect of her life, she hears God better. I know. Well, no, and the funny thing is that a lot of people don't realize that. And I kind of like, you're like, what? I'm going to tell you something. This is an important thing. And it seems so like, duh. It's like such a duh moment, but nobody does this. And that is, if you want to pray without ceasing, it says we're supposed to pray without ceasing, right? It does. It says, I know it does. I've read it. If it says we're supposed to pray without ceasing, how do you do that? How do you pray without ceasing? You just sit there and talk at God forever? No. You can't have a conversation with somebody unless you are sharing or having a dialogue. Now, God is pretty humble. He's a humble guy, so he won't talk about himself unless you prod him. So the best way to get God to talk to you is to constantly ask him questions. I'm serious. This is the best way to get God to open up, because you ask him a question, he will give you an answer. Ask and it shall be answered unto thee. So you have to ask him a question. Seeking you shall find. Knock and it shall be opened. God will make sure that you hear what you need to hear. So what you do, and this is my challenge to everybody out there, I want you to ask God about everything you're doing in your life. I mean, seriously, like, what? And you'll start to get the vibe for it, but I'm going to tell you something. Ask him what cereal to eat. I mean, ask him whether you should open the window or not. Ask him what bread to buy. Ask him, and you'll be like confused at first because you're not really sure if you're hearing God or not. But over time, you'll get practiced at it. And the more you ask, I mean, seriously, you ask about everything. If you ask about everything, you'll get very practiced at it. And you'll start to hear him in every situation. And you'll be like, oh, that's God. Oh, and that's God. And then the more you talk about it, or the more you talk to him, the more you ask God questions, the more you get involved in these discussions with God, the better off you are. I mean, seriously, you start hearing God all the time. And you never separate. And I'm going to tell you something. What does separate you is fiction. I mean, I've found this to be true, and this is why I think that fiction is idol worship, because fiction distracts you from God. You start thinking about things that are not God related. Yeah. So what I recommend you do is, if you want to have constant communication with God, and this is not hard to do, it's an endurance race, okay? It's easy to do, it's easy to implement, it's hard to maintain. Easy to implement, hard to maintain. What I want you to do is everything that you're doing, do God's will. Ask God what you should do. Not my will, but thine will be done. In every level, on everything that you're doing, across the board. And eventually you'll start to realize that God has an answer for pretty much everything. And the majority of the answers are yes, no, wait. A lot of the times he won't care. But you have to be prepared for him to change it up on you. There's never ever just a pat answer. Like, you can ask him the same question in two separate instances, and he'll give you two different answers because the situation has changed. So you kind of have to maintain this mentality of humility and never assume you know what God is going to say. And you'll know it's God because once you walk out on what you think is God, if it fails, that was not God. If it's successful, you're like, oh, that was God. And you'll start to see God in everything. I'm serious. Ask God about everything that you're doing. God is perfect. And if you do God's will in everything you touch will be perfect as well. It's crazy cool. So that's what I recommend to you. You want to practice non-stop prayer, that's the way to do it. So I'm the Heretic. Pray without ceasing. Peace out. That was just, sorry about the tongue thing. That was just odd. Yeah. Okay, bye. Ready to go home?
What's Kitty? What's Kitty? kitty go?
Oh no, Monkers. We saw a kitty on the way up here. We saw 2 kitties. Ready to go home?
No, I only see kitties.
We've already seen kitties, honey. Let's go home.
No,
Come on.
no, let's go play.
No, we came home. Let's go home.
Let's go to there. It's in the park.
We already went to the park. You wanted to come back here, so we're back here.
Show something without
Hey, look it. There's the moon.